Hi, you're watching Save the Semiquincentennial, Episode 1, President John Adams. Semiquincentennial is also known as America at 250, 250 years since the signing of the Declaration of Independence, which we are supposed to celebrate in just 3 years, in 2026. Will we make it? Well, Donald Trump and the right wing have said, and you can Google it, that they will tear up the Constitution on January 20th, 2025. America will become an autocracy. Trump will be a red Caesar seeking retribution. They're saying it. And we want to start this series by looking at the brilliant thinkers and doers who have made America great, period, and then urge you to vote to save the country. So we begin with President John Adams. It's good to be smart. I'm Dave Balog. I am the author of the Healing the Brain series for 1,000 Moms, and I have a lifelong interest in history with a degree from Hamilton College and a passion for politics. And I want to share my views and ideas with you and hope that we can all find common ground. Well, the COVID pandemic revealed a shocking lack of understanding of the scientific method and a disturbing mistrust of science and scientists. Millions of Americans were sick and dying, and people without real knowledge of the vaccine pushed conspiracy theories and chose ill-informed stands against public mandates for mask wearing. The founders of this country would have been shocked and dismayed by this rejection of science. The writers of the Declaration chose a difficult, uncharted path. It required informed debate, education, consensus building, the likes of which had never been seen in the history of human government. Previously, and still, a king or a despot usually made decisions, rightly or wrongly, and fate would decide the rest. We tend to view the founders of this nation as mythical figures, often enormously flawed. They all, but John Adams, owned slaves, which is documented. They failed to solve the wrenching issue of slavery, which led to a civil war that nearly destroyed the nation that they had fought to create. The founders appear in our currency. On the 3-day President's Day weekend, we somehow honor them in order to sell cars and mattresses. But Americans obscure the founders' daring and intelligence. When they set about to separate from Great Britain, they boldly established a new nation whose power derived from the people themselves. And to a person, the founders believed that education and educated citizens were essential to maintaining government. Jefferson created the University of Virginia. Washington was involved in founding Washington and Lee University. Franklin founded the institute that would eventually become the University of Pennsylvania in Philadelphia. And for John Adams, education was a lifetime pursuit. When he went to Harvard, son of a poor Massachusetts farmer, Adams declared himself a lifetime reader. He said that if you carried a book of poetry in your pocket, you would never be alone. Adams was and still remains a force, particularly in the Commonwealth of Massachusetts. The Constitution, which he wrote more than 250 years ago, is still the law of the land in Massachusetts. John Adams was behind the scenes in many of the events and actions that led up to the founding of the country. He was the first ambassador to the Netherlands, a critical position because the new country needed money. And also, with his wife Abigail, they were interested in the culture of Europe, how they could bring that culture, that milieu, to America, to the new country, where, of course, there was none. So Adams is revered in the Netherlands, and he had deep, deep principles and ideas for the new country, as did his wife, Abigail. While during his time abroad, Adams and his wife Abigail came to love the culture, the education, the museums, the architecture that was all lacking in America. To both, and this is critical, the pursuit of happiness, as presented in the Declaration, had nothing to do with leisure time, 3-day weekends, or acquiring material goods. The pursuit of happiness had to do with the sharpening of the mind, not only for self edification, but for promotion of a civil discourse to benefit families and build a more just and equal society. Adams and all of the founders foresaw a nation of readers, a nation educated, and a populace able to conduct civil discourse on the critical issues of the day. And Adams had principles, shocking even his contemporaries. Adams insisted on, as a lawyer, that the British redcoats who had killed the first Americans in the Revolutionary War needed representation. It was a matter of justice to Adams, and he represented those British soldiers. Thomas Jefferson became an adversary quickly of Adams. They had two widely divergent views of government and were bitter enemies. However, two things. They successfully completed the first peaceful transfer of power to another political party, and through their remarkable correspondence, they became good friends, and their letters remain a model of political discourse. And ironically, notably, they died on the same day, July 4th, in 1826, 50 years after the signing of the Declaration. Well, John Adams and his wife Abigail were the first occupants of the White House, designed by George Washington, and it opened in late 1800. And while there for a few brief months, Adams wrote this: I pray heaven to bestow the best of blessings on this house and all that shall hereafter inhabit it. May none but honest and wise men ever rule under this roof. And Franklin Roosevelt thought this so important that he had it engraved on a plaque which still is exhibited at the White House. Well, this is the first of a series of videos, as I've said, on Americans, politicians, creators, artists, civil rights activists, all who made America great. Honor them. Vote. And we'll have a link in the video below, in the description below this video. You need to click oddly on the boldface word more, M-O-R-E, on the YouTube description, and we will give you much more information. In future videos, we hope to, we will cover our presidents, Lincoln, Washington, their greatness, and the lesser known, at least in history books, people such as Harriet Tubman and Judge Frank Johnson of the South of Alabama. And we hope you'll find this series interesting, valuable, and that you will share it. And our goal is to get everyone to register to vote. It's a cliche by now, but the next election, which could possibly be Trump versus our current President Biden, will be another critical test of democracy. It just could be the last election. It's that simple. Your vote is your voice. And if you go to the description, as I said below this video, we'll have a link to the League of Women Voters. Register. Get your friends to register. Get your family to register. So thank you for watching. Look for more videos in this series. I'm Dave Balog. Be well, be kind, be involved.